Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
All right, hello and welcome to the 277th episode of the Alfa Insurance Drive to the GHSA State Title, presented by georgiaconstructioncareers.com. Today we're going to go over my top play from last week. We'll talk some Week 6 results, and more importantly, we're going to be joined by North Paulding head coach Don Stark to talk about the Wolfpack heading into this big matchup with Walton. But let's go ahead and get started with Coach Stark. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
It's going good, Craig. How are you doing?
Doing well. So you had your bye week last week, and I think you said you just had a practice. So how's the last few weeks been going?
It's going well. It's an opportunity to get our guys healthy and recharge the battery, not only physically but also mentally.
For sure. And then we got to talk about this 5-0 start. I know you guys placed a lot of pieces offensively, but you guys really haven't skipped a beat. You're putting up massive numbers offensively. So what's been the key this year?
Well, it really starts with our offensive line. I think our offensive line is much improved this year, and they're doing a great job allowing our skill guys to have the opportunity to make plays.
And then let's talk about your quarterback, Tyler. He's only a sophomore. I don't think he took too many reps last year, but, I mean, he's really stepped in, been aggressive, gotten the ball out to the playmakers. So what have you seen from him over these first 5 games?
Well, he's done a great job, handling the offense and trying to step in and fill the shoes. We lost a really good one last year in Boone Anderson. And so he's doing a tremendous job. He's understanding the offense every week better and better, making right decisions and good reads. And we've been really happy with him.
And then were you at any games this past Friday scouting?
No, actually, we had a practice early. Some of the coaches went to a couple of games, but no, I took to looked a little more at Walton. We can't be thinking about anyone else but those guys. Those guys are pretty good.
Yeah, let's talk about that last year. That was an incredible game. 100 points scored. Either team could have come away with that victory. It's the last non-region game. Just talk about how big this matchup is going to be just for preparing you guys for this Region 3.
Yeah, well, they're obviously a great football team, and it kind of, lets us know where we're going to be at after we play these guys. And so we're looking forward to it. They're very, balanced on offense. They can run, they can throw. Defense, they're in position. They got, phenomenal players with a bunch of really good players around them. And, they don't make many mistakes. So, they don't beat themselves is what they really don't do. They're always in position to make plays.
Yes, and it's no secret that Walton's gotten off to some really fast starts this year. So, I mean, how huge is that going to be for you guys, just coming out focused and taking advantage of those early possessions?
Yeah, I don't think their starters, I think, have only played most of the games. They're only playing 2-3 quarters. So hopefully they have to play the full game against us. But no, they're a fast starting team. They're very opportunistic on defense. They've got that really good linebacker, number 7, and another guy on the edge at number 1. They got 2 really good corners. And so, a lot of teams, they just create a lot of turnovers, and we just can't shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yep, that's Wendell Gregory and Ashton Woods. They've been very disruptive, so that's something that's caused their previous opponents a lot. But how confident are you just in your offensive line to communicate and just adapt to some of those defensive looks Walton's going to give you?
Yeah, that's always the first rule of football is communication. Our guys got to make the correct line calls. Hopefully we're putting in position to make plays, and then they're going to go out and compete and execute and do what they've done in practice. That's the goal. And the main thing is just not flinching. You talked about last year. I thought that was one of the things that we didn't do. In terms of offense and defense, we just kept playing hard. We didn't worry about what the score was. And, if you do that, you've got a chance. If you get down a couple scores, or even if you get up a couple scores against a team like that and you relax, I mean, it's not going to go your way.
Yeah, and so Tyler Neer, your quarterback, he was leading all of 7A in passing through the first 5 weeks. Talk a little bit more, though, offensively. How many positions did you have to replace this year?
Oh, geez. I think we replaced our quarterback, running back. I think we were like 4 or 5 positions. We lost our top running back, obviously Boone at quarterback. Our top receiver last year was Owen Dupree. But, every school graduates people. Yep. And so, hopefully you're developing the guys that are behind them. And we have guys like, Dubé, Enogene, he's really stepped up. Javarius George, he obviously had a great year last year as well. And, we've got Cedric Stewart, Austin Nagy, who moved from quarterback to receiver, has done a great job. And then our 2 running backs, they're not as big as Jalen, but in terms of, the other things that they bring to the table, they're Calvin Scott and Jaden Clayton. We think they're pretty dynamic running backs.
Yeah, and it's been a pretty good balance, too, just looking at the stats, and a lot of guys are getting involved. Talk about the backfield, though, just some of the running back by committee that you've had. Yeah,
we since the first half of Alatoona, we haven't had both running backs healthy for a game. So we're hoping to get both of those guys back at full strength this week. And so, Calvin Scott, he's the one that starts, but we really rotate him evenly and with Jaden Clayton. And, Calvin's a quick, back that can do things out of the backfield as well, and Jaden's a big back that's got great speed and good vision.
Yep, you guys are averaging about 7 yards a carry. You're talking about the speed, though. How does this year kind of stack up to previous seasons, just overall team speed?
I think as a team we're faster this year, definitely on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, we start 11 seniors, so that has kind of been the unit that's been the mainstay of our season so far. And, just our overall team speed and strength has definitely improved now that we've been here 4 years.
And then you guys picked up that region championship last year. We saw Marietta play this last week. You're familiar with those teams. What are your expectations just you're in the region, and how confident are you that you guys can get that number 1 seed once again?
Well, I think everyone in the state, their number 1 goal is to win the region, and so that's our number 1 goal every year. And our region is tough. I mean, I know Marietta's played an unbelievably tough schedule. So has McEachern. You have Harrison undefeated, and Hillgrove has also played a tremendous schedule. I mean, they just played Carrollton last week. When they're playing the top teams in the state, it gets you ready for your region games. And in those games, anything could happen.
Yeah, and this is such an exciting stretch. You guys come off the bye. You got an undefeated Walton team. You got Harrison. They're undefeated. I think they're going to be coming off a bye when you guys open up the region. But with Harrison, what's interesting about them is last year they came on really strong in the second half of the season. And then this year, I mean, they're off to just an outstanding start. So it seems just in that 5-team region, it really is one where every single week is just crucial in terms of those standings.
Absolutely. I think all the teams are pretty equal. I don't think anyone's heading above the other team. McEachern looks like they may have started to figure it out the last couple of games with a new staff getting used to each other and the players. It takes a little while before you kind of know, what the strengths and weaknesses are, and you can coach towards that and put guys in position. But, our region is solid from top to bottom. I don't think there's a clear, some of the regions you can look at and say, yeah, those guys are going to win it, or they're definitely going to be in it. I think any one of our teams can, get hot at the end of the year, and, they're the number one seed, kind of like what happened to us last year.
Yeah, and then McEachern, they're obviously bitter last year after not making the playoffs. You mentioned what they've done the last 2 weeks. And even starting the season, I mean, the Douglas County loss doesn't look so bad anymore. The Hughes one, and then massive wins over Tucker and Valdosta the last 2 weeks. It's very exciting. But I want to ask you, this week, I believe you guys are going to be on TV, though. Just talk about, you guys have had some televised matchups, but just how your players are going to be able to handle that spotlight.
Well, I think they'll be all right. I mean, I think kids nowadays, they don't, I don't, maybe some of them it'll get them nervous or something like that. But I think our kids are going to be fine. Most of our guys played in the game last year, and so they've experienced this. And, if you want to be considered one of the better programs in the state, then, you need to be able to play on TV, Even if their head coach has a face or radio, they should still be all right.
Yeah, and then defensively, Ethan Maddox, he's a guy I remember last season. I mean, who else has really stepped up for you guys to just provide that leadership and dependability?
Right. Well, I think, his brother, Aiden Maddox, also, is on the D-line. Those two have been phenomenal, and really the whole group. Danny Pitts, we've got Dylan Harr, Malik Daly is a senior who's stepped up at defensive end. Our other inside linebacker, Austin Kowalski, and those three guys. I mean, pretty much I think our front 6 of them are seniors, and then on the back end, we're pretty deep with our 2 safeties, Dylan Harr and Alex Carlisle. And our corners, we rotate about 3 corners in there. Ty Johnson and Jakelsius Gibson, 2 seniors, have done phenomenal. And then they got Jamari Carter has also been rotating in there. And we got 1 sophomore, Markel Taylor, who's he's got a bright future if he keeps working like he has been.
And then has anything changed in terms of your coaching staff this year, new coordinators or anything?
No, we were fortunate enough to keep all of our coordinators. Coach Dion Lanier, he does the defense and does a great job. We were able to add a couple coaches that came in that definitely helped us out. Travis Reed and Mike Kentz on that side, and Daryl Britt, our DB coach. We were able to add those guys along with Chavius Jackson was still there. So, the defensive side had a little turnover, but, they really haven't missed a beat. They've come in and learned the system, done a great job. And then our offensive coaches have been, rock solid.
And then just one more question about this Walton matchup. It's like you can look at the film this season, but really they have a lot of the same pieces back from last year in that great matchup that you guys had with them. So, I mean, do you see many differences, or is it more just them kind of just improving on that nucleus they had last year?
Yeah, well, I think they've improved, and obviously, Walton, whenever you have a really good program, it attracts players to you. They got a big left tackle, number 77. That guy is phenomenal. He really on both sides of the ball. He doesn't play very much on defense, but they have him. I think they're also a little bit healthier this year. Like I said earlier, it seems like they're only playing half the games because they're blowing everybody out. Last year we caught him. I think I can't remember his number last year, but this year, he's number 5, the corner. He got hurt the very beginning of the game against us on the kickoff return, so they missed him. But they're a good football team, and so hopefully we can go out there and compete with them and prove that we're a good football team as well.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy. You guys are no longer on the bye week. It is game week, and we're excited to see this matchup and region play as well. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks again, man. Take care.
Awesome. All right. So there you guys have it. Replacing a lot of pieces, but, man, the numbers have certainly spoken for themselves. And I think that kind of the last point I tried to make was pretty interesting because you could look at that game film last year, and Walton's doing a lot of the same things. They're trying to get the ball out to Wyatt Sonderman. They got Makari Bodiford. He mentioned, you got Daniel Calhoun on the offensive line now, but a lot of the, I'd say, base formations Walton's going to be in, they are going to be similar. It's just about that creativity in that Walton offense, and then something they do well, and you kind of see it with teams like the Kansas City Chiefs. It's every single route isn't just like perfectly traced out where it's like, okay, this many steps, stop right here. They're going to find the open spaces because they have a quarterback, Jeremy Heklinski, that's so good at surveying the field and making quick decisions. So even if you're in the right coverage, you got to stay on those receivers, and it's going to be a big test. But last year there was 100 points scored. North Paulding had a chance to win. They nearly came away with it, and I think it's going to be a fantastic game. And let's talk about that region a little more because it's shaping up to be very interesting. Last year, McEachern missed out on the playoffs. Harrison snuck in. Hillgrove snuck in. North Cobb won the region. Marietta came on strong late. But this year, it's really going to be crazy. So you got Harrison, 6-0. That's who North Paulding's going to open with. Last year, Harrison actually beat North Paulding. That was a, that was a 24-21 victory, I believe. Let's see. Correct. All right, so this year, Harrison's going to be on the bye this week. Then they're going to play North Paulding. So Harrison, McEachern, region opener, that's going to be big. And then North Paulding will be on the bye after this Walton game, and then they'll open up with Harrison. Then they'll have McEachern, Hillgrove, and Marietta. Let's go over McEachern real quick. So they opened the season 0-4. They had the loss to Brookwood in the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic, 21-20, a game I thought they were in control of most of the time, so that was a tough one. They fell to Hughes the following week, 40-9. It's an experienced Hughes team, not a bad loss. They lost to Douglas County the next week, 31-0. We saw what Douglas County just did with their big win over Hughes, another top 10 team. And at the time, Douglas County wasn't ranked, but obviously they're a top 10 team now, top 5. And then they lost to Newton, who wasn't ranked at the time McEachern played them, but has since become a ranked team after their big win over Westlake. Then they played Tucker, a team that had a huge win over Miller Grove to start their season. They won that one 49-7, and then they followed it up this week with a 28-7 win over Valdosta, who was in the top 10 at the time. So really, out of their 6 opponents, I'd say 4 of them have been in the top 10 at some point this season. And so that is shaping up to be quite a region. And I'm interested to see how they look against Walton, obviously, because Walton has not really been tested for 4 quarters yet this season. But let's go ahead. We'll take a quick break and thank our sponsors, and we'll get to our play of the week on the other side.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me. Can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All All right, welcome back. So now it is time for our Play of the Week, sponsored by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. A reminder, Monday is the Play of the Week. Wednesday is when I'll break down the composite rankings. And then Friday is when I will feature a team in a segment. And so each day is a little different. So last week we had the big play from the Marist BT game, the 55-yard touchdown run right before the half. So I was looking pretty hard to find out what's the play of the week going to be. KJ Bolden made some nice plays. You had the big scoop and score from our game. I saw some other ones, but really this one, it came on Thursday. It was from the freshman game between Grayson and Parkview, and it is without a doubt the most impressive play I saw this last week. Grayson, the freshman, continued to ball out, 20-8 victory over Parkview. They're 4-0, and when you're making plays like this as a freshman, I am very intrigued on what you're going to be able to do throughout your career. This guy, Elijah Patterson, he's not worrying about fundamentals at this point. He's got that down. He's in position, and he's making plays that some players will go their entire football career without making a play that spectacular. So let's go ahead and air it. This is courtesy of Najee. He got this great footage, and you will certainly be impressed. So let's check it out right now. Next level right there. So you can see that was on a big 3rd and long. Parkview's trying to throw it up to the tall target, and he's going to get in that position, fight him off physically, and then go up with one hand and secure the catch. That is unbelievable. One more time. And that is how you attack the ball right there. That is just beautiful. So congratulations to Elijah Patterson. And I think it's also fitting because it's not just the Grayson freshmen that are having a great season. If you look at what the Rams are doing, they absolutely trampled Lowndes this past week. They only allowed 28 yards in the first half. They are cruising. I think they have become one of the most dangerous teams in 7A. And I think if they played Walton again, that'd be a much different outcome in that one. They're starting to find their playmakers. Their quarterback is playing outstanding. Hold on, let me pull up our roundup right here. We have the stats. I think he was like 21 of 25. Let's see. Okay, J.D. Davis finished the game 21 of 25, 237 yards. Also had 62 yards on 12 carries. We mentioned the defense. They held Lowndes to 28 total yards of offense in the first half and provided the final points of the night on Darren McKenzie's 15-yard scoop and score. So both sides are getting it done, and then you have the defensive touchdown. Just incredible. I'm trying to think. There was a coach that told us about how many defensive touchdowns they have. Do you remember who that was? I think it was Westlake. Maybe. Yeah. They had like 7 defensive touchdowns. So it's good. They still have run into some competition in recent weeks, including Newton. But let's see. Let's just go over this game real quick. All right, senior quarterback J.D. Davis finished the first half with 3 touchdowns through the air and another rushing. So 4 touchdowns the first half for J.D. Davis. Has not only grown throughout this season, but clearly has taken that next step since last year. He's got new coaches around him, and when he's playing like that, I mean, their offense can really light it up. They're now 4-1, 4 straight wins. That was obviously against Coach Carter, the former head coach there, in a Lowndes team that was making noise this season. Let's see, Lowndes kicker and Georgia Tech commit Carson Page punted 8 times in the first 2 quarters, the second of which was followed by a Davis 10-yard touchdown run to put the Rams on the board. After 3 and out from the Vikings, MJ Evans picked off Davis, so they did have the 1 turnover. But back-to-back sacks from Kell, can't pronounce that, forced another Vikings punt. Davis found Aiden Taylor for a 33-yarder late in the opening frame for a 13-0 lead. So that's another good sign right there. JD's able to shake off that interception and close out the first half with 4 touchdowns. Amari Alston capped off a 7-play, 90-yard drive with a rushing touchdown on the Rams' first possession of the second quarter. Ethan Contres and Dylan Elder each hauled in a Davis touchdown pass as well, the latter of whom stretched past 2 defenders to extend the Grayson lead to 33-0 at the break. So that's huge. Grayson had a frustrating result week 1. They were not happy about it, and now they are embarrassing opponents. They put up 83 points on Eagles Landing. They blank Lowndes in the first half and get a shutout. So that is huge. And I believe Grayson is going to be squaring off with Newton this week. Yeah, but undefeated Newton team. And that game is going to be outstanding. Newton's rushing attack has been phenomenal going up against that Grayson team. And I think if you're going to beat Grayson, you're going to have to be able to pass the ball, and not only pass it, you have to have a deep ball. If you let that secondary get comfortable and not have to play off the line of scrimmage, you're going to have no space. They're too fast, and you got guys like Tyler Atkinson flying into the backfield. He's got superhuman speed and can really just avoid blockers, and his pursuit's just incredible. And he obviously trains for it. A lot of it is just him being gifted for only being a sophomore, but also, he's put in tons of work. He comes in prepared every single week, and really he was even making it difficult throughout that game against Walton. So let's look at that. And then, obviously the other key for Grayson is just their offense. If they're moving the ball with balance, if JD's playing well, that just makes them so dangerous. Because really, Walton, when they played, if you watch the game, he just didn't have any time. The offensive line hadn't gelled yet, and they were really struggling in that first half before they got going. So in this region, let's see, it's going to be Newton at Grayson. And the latest AJC poll, Newton is at number 7. Grayson is at number 10. I do have Grayson higher than Newton in mine. You're going to have South Gwinnett against Parkview. Parkview's coming off a tough loss to Mill Creek, but I got to say I was still impressed. They kept it close. It was tied up, I think, 20-20 in the fourth quarter. They forced some turnovers, which is something that Mill Creek has not done this season. Shane Throgmartin had 0 interceptions going into that matchup, but in the end, they stalled, and that's kind of one of the problems I have with Parkview is they're a great team, they're talented, but when they need a clutch 4-minute drive, 2-minute drive, that offense can sputter. They rely on just having like a few game-changing plays spattered into the game. They can't really sustain that drive, and it's like what I said about Walton and their offense. If it's a third down situation, I'm confident in Jeremy Hecklinski, confident in the play calling, the offense. When Parkview is down by 7 late in the game, I'm not as confident. They have the playmakers, but they don't have an offense that has proven that it can just drive the ball down the field. All right, so you also have Archer versus Brookwood. That's going to be a key game for playoff positioning. Brookwood had a big win, 42-35 over South Forsyth. It looks like they are starting to find a rhythm offensively. And then Archer has also been much improved. And then South Gwinnett's coming off their first loss of the season, 27-20 to Norcross, but I still thought that was a impressive result for them. They played them very close. It's just been hard to stop A.J. Watkins and those big-time playmakers for Norcross. All right, so what game surprised me the most this last week? I've got to say it was Stars Mill beating Troop in 4A, and I can't emphasize enough how huge that win was for Stars Mill, putting them in the driver's seat in Region 4. Stars Mill missed the playoffs last year. They were 7-3 in that region behind Troop, LaGrange, Whitewater, and Trinity Christian. Well, now they're 2-0, and they've beaten 2 teams that are likely going to be in that playoff position, so they have the tiebreaker over both of them. They were up 20-3 in the fourth quarter. Troop tried to come back, and then the final result was 20-18. Troop was number 4 ranked heading into that. They had been outstanding. They were the top defense in all of 4A, only 6 points a game. They were lighting it up. They're senior led. They got tons of outstanding prospects, and so I think Stars Mill just came out motivated in that game. They've been battle tested as well, but it's just an incredible result that, as I said, puts them in the driver's seat moving forward. The other results that impressed me, I got to say, Burke County. They had a big win over, I believe that was Statesboro, 34-0. Wayne County, a good team in 4A, beat Statesboro last week. But Burke County looks fantastic. They're 5-0 under head coach Franklin Stevens. Spalding also a 34-0 win over Baldwin. That Spalding-Perry game is setting up to be very intriguing in Region 2 for the region championship after that win. And then Bainbridge beating Ware County at home 35-21 to improve to 3-2. 4A has done outstanding against outside classifications this year, and you have Benedictine and Bainbridge both beating Ware County. I think that says a lot about the depth this year. And then the other correction I have is with Cedartown. They had a huge win, 35-27 over Dalton. And I'd say the fortunes of their season have changed dramatically the last few weeks. They had a rough stretch, but Callaway was forced to vacate that win. And I think that was because they had some ineligible players on their team. So you factor in that, that loss becomes a win, and now Cedartown is 3-2. They're back above 500. They just beat a top 10 team in 5A, and now this week they're going to be playing Central Carroll, which is going to be just a heck of a matchup. I believe that will likely determine the Region 7 champion. Central Carroll's undefeated. Their head coach, Umber Brown, year 1, is trying to make them a team that's going to be a big-time contender this year, but also in the future. I think that's one of the best matchups in the state this week. Central Carroll against Cedartown. And Cedartown looked like they were going to go into it struggling, but no, they're 3-2 now, and they are definitely back to form after that Dalton win. All right, let's look at The big matchup in, let's see, Region 3 opens up this week. You got Burke County and Wayne County. Number 7 Burke County against number 9 Wayne County. And this region obviously has Benedictine in it as well. It remains to be seen if either of those teams will challenge Benedictine. Benedictine has not lost within 4A in 3 seasons, but in terms of getting home field in the playoffs, that Burke County-Wayne County game is going to be crucial, and the winner will eventually face Benedictine for a chance at the region title. Stars Mill against Trinity Christian this week. It's not a top 10 matchup according to the AJC rankings, but I think it's going to be incredible. Those are the only 2 teams in Region 4 that are yet to lose, and they are squaring off. It's going to be huge for who's going to come out on top. All right, Stockbridge is back in action in Region 5 after a bye week. They're going to play Mount Zion Jonesboro, who is 0-5. They should get an easy win, and Stockbridge, a team I have in my top 10. One of their early losses this season was a close game to Douglas County. Obviously, that loss isn't looking so bad right now. All right, a big matchup in Region 6. Holy Innocents against Westminster. Holy Innocents is undefeated. Westminster just picked up a big 36-6 win over Riverwood, and that is going to be the region opener. Should be fantastic. And then Miller Grove and Southwest DeKalb will square off, and then Hateville Charter against Stevenson. So 3 tremendous matchups in Region 6. Hateville Charter had a big win over Carver Columbus this week, 34-26. Carver Columbus, obviously the 3A team that nearly knocked off Brookwood last week. They are ranked in the top 10 in 3A. And then Stevenson is coming off a 48-42 win over Tucker. That's a big-time win over a DeKalb County rival. So Hateville, Charter, and Stevenson, I really like that matchup. Miller Grove and Southwest DeKalb, another game that will be huge for playoff implications. And then you got Holy Innocents and Westminster. All right. Moving on to Region 7, we mentioned Central Carroll and Cedartown. You also got Heritage Ringgold against Southeast Whitfield, and then Northwest Whitfield against Sonoraville. Those will all be the region openers in Region 7. And then in Region 8, I'm going to probably try to get on Coach Allison this week. That is East Forsyth's head coach. They are a 3-year school. Last year they went 6-4, but missed out on the playoffs, ultimately finishing in that number 5 slot. Missed out just by a game that obviously would have been their first ever playoff appearance. What caused them to miss the playoffs? They had a 7-6 loss over Walnut Grove early in the region action. Well, this year they avenged that with a 21-0 win on Friday. So now they're 2-0 in the region. They will play East Hall next. East Hall is just 2-3. They should be able to get that victory. They still have big matchups against Cherokee Bluff, North Oconee, Madison County, Chesadee, and North Hall. But the 2-0 start, that's absolutely critical for their playoff chances. Region 8 is the largest region in Class 4A, and honestly, it's one of the largest in the entire state. They only have 2 non-region games, but they're definitely playing for keeps. They are trying to get into the playoffs, and the 4-0 start has been historic. They beat Cedar Shoals for the first region win, 35-13, and then 21-0. Let's see if that's their first ever shutout. Okay, no, they shut out East Hall last year 45-0, and that's who they play next. So that should be very fun to watch. All right, let's look at the rest of these rankings real quick on the AJC side. So I just want to go over the movement this week. So Mill Creek jumped up to number 2 in their poll. I think that's fair. They had a big win over a top 10 team. They're 5-0. And in that game, we mentioned Shane Throgmorton, the junior quarterback. He had a big touchdown pass to Trajan Greco when that game was locked in the fourth quarter, 20-20, and that ultimately became the difference. And if you've watched Mill Creek at all this season, that is exactly what they do. Cam Robinson just pounds the ball. Coach Lovelady calls him Houdini. He's great downhill. He's hard to tackle. He routinely rushes for 200 yards. He had 184 and 2 touchdowns against Parkview. And then Shane Throgmorton can throw the deep ball very well. And I would go to guess that every single game so far, he has done just that and connected on a big play after that rushing attack gets going and they're comfortable taking the shot. All right, Colquitt County, they dipped from number 4 to number 2 after their win over Cedar Grove. It was 50-42, but they were up 36-7 in the first half. Nico Fan had a pretty solid outing, 15 of 24, 255, and 2 touchdowns. Nykar, 4 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. They're going to play Lincoln Ford next week before their region finally gets going. And that region was looking like it was going to be more competitive, but in recent weeks, we'll see how Lowndes responds. We'll see how Valdosta does after their tough loss to McEacher, and then Camden and Richmond Hill. I just think Colquitt looks to be the clear favorite at this point. All right, Carrollton stays at 5. Newton climbed up to number 6. Who would have dropped? Okay, that's because Parkview fell to 8. Grayson moved up to 7. And then North Cobb cracked the polls. They come in at number 10 after their 42-27 win over Milton. And that was obviously a big performance by North Cobb's star running back. 325 yards, 4 touchdowns. Looks like they had 408 total rushing yards in that game to Milton's 69. And, I mean, it's a good comparison in stats, but, I mean, Milton's not known to be a running team this year. There's no secret about that. Do they want to run the ball? Absolutely, but really the strength is their passing attack. I think that was just a situation where the defense was having trouble stopping them, and then the offense wasn't on the field enough. When Milton was playing Roswell, they controlled the clock. They were the ones setting the pace of the game. North Cobb reversed that on them and got the win. North Cobb's now going to go on a bye, and then they will play Walton October 6th. All right, was there movement in 6A? Thomas County Central moved up to number 2 after the Hughes lost to Douglas County. Douglas County made a massive leap from number 10 to number 4 after the big win over Hughes, 30-27. And then Hughes comes in at number 5. They fell 3 spots from number 2. Because of Douglas County moving up to 4, Lee County got bumped down to 6. Rome got bumped down to 7. Marist got bumped down to number 8. And then you got Roswell and Woodward Academy also in the poll. And speaking of big matchup this week, Roswell at Blessed Trinity. I think the key in that one, KJ Smith, when we watched him against Milton, it was clear to see Milton had a fantastic pass rush, but even so, he's a very difficult player to bring down. He can make the first guy miss, get his eyes downfield, and still find some of his big targets. If BT can get that pass rush going and bring him down instead of letting him escape and make plays, I think they can stack up with him. But really, it is the strength of BT, that pass rush, going up against an offense with a quarterback that is very good at making those guys miss. So I think that's going to be a fun matchup. Obviously, it'll be a huge rivalry game, and I'd consider it a top 10 matchup, but it looks like BT at a 4-1 record after their big win over Sprayberry this last week is not in the AJCs, but I'm sure they got votes from the other outlets. All right, in 5A, Coffee took over number 1. That is after Ware County's loss to Bainbridge. They jumped up from number 3. Coffee looks fantastic this year. They're 5-0. They beat Richmond Hill 21-0. They've been playing all these South Georgia schools across the classifications these first few weeks, and they look dominant. All right, Creekside stays at 2. Jefferson climbed to 3. Cartersville 4. Hiram at 5, moving up for number 7. Ware County fell all the way to number 6. And then Ola is in the poll for the first time. No Kell in the top 10. Very interesting. I think Kell should be in there. I think if you look at their schedule, they're the favorite to win their region. There's a big matchup, speaking of that region, coming up this week with Greater Atlanta Christian, who's undefeated, against Cambridge. But I still like Kell. Kamari Nix is a capable quarterback, even without Bryce Clavin. He played quarterback last season. He's gotten multiple starts under his belt this year with the new team. I really like Kell's defense. I like their secondary. It's not easy to pass on them. They've got great linebackers. And for a 5A school, they've got some of the best and most talented guys on any of these teams I see on this list. I think they certainly are a top 10 team. But no Kell in those rankings. And Warner Robins stays in the poll at 2-3, and their 41-7 loss to Houston County. Now, does Warner Robins have a big win over Northside Warner Robins on the resume? Yes. But in recent weeks, they just have not been clicking. They had to have massive comebacks. They haven't gotten out to any positive start in the first half recently. And then they just got absolutely pummeled by Houston County 41-7. So 2-3, I think they would probably need a couple more big wins to crack the poll. But we will see. They're still in it in terms of the AJC one. But yeah, it's Warner Robins, and it's not uncommon for them to be 1-4 early and then finish the season 11-4 and get all the way to the finals. But we'll see. All right, in 4A, Troop, they fell. Wow. AJC knocked Troop all the way out of the poll after that loss to Stars Mill. That is tough. As good as Troop has been, I felt going into last week, you could have made the argument that they should have been number 2 instead of number 3 because they were just dominating so much. But a tough loss, and they have exited the rankings. And then Stars Mill didn't even get in, so interesting. Central Carroll is the newcomer, though. They debut at number 8. They've got that big matchup with Cedartown. North Hall's in there after their win over Cherokee Bluff. And it looks like Perry jumped to 3 after Troop's exit. Let's see. Let's go ahead. We'll take one more quick break and thank our sponsors, and I'll close it on the other side.
On the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
your thing. We've got you covered.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
All right, welcome back. So our game this last week was Marietta and Buford. I think the things that stood out, Buford's defense, they look phenomenal. They look really sound. They're clearly in midseason form. I will say a lot of Buford guys ended up in the tent. I don't think anything was very serious, but they were getting banged up in that game. I know Coach Applin wants to get them healthy. And then offensively, I think Dylan Raiola is impressive just with his size, and then he's done it pretty much every game. He had the same sort of throw against Carver Atlanta. It's where you think he's going down for a sack, and he's almost parallel to the ground, and he's able to get the ball out. And he made plays like that, I think 2 or 3 of them against Marietta. So that's just impressive just in terms of strength and how he can get the ball out there like that with accuracy. Definitely the real deal. But then the most impressive player for Buford all season long has been KJ Bolden, #1 athlete in this senior class. Just the big play ability of him every week. He's clearly been the MVP of that team. And so I think we have a clip right here. Let's just look at KJ Bolden, the Florida State commit, and just some of the special playmaking he's been able to bring to the Wolves this year.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Just making guys miss. Getting straight upfield. Look at that speed. So that play could have been, what, a 15, 20-yard gain, and because he's KJ Bolden, he takes it to the house. Just a ridiculous move right there. Makes it look so easy. So there is Buford's MVP so far. Definitely impressed. Then, as he talked about where, kind of what side of the ball he's thinking of playing at the next level? Safety.
This kind of plays both now for Buford, but definitely safety.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon. I mean, we've seen guys that go on to play defense that can lead their team in offense. I mean, the big plays he's brought to Buford this year. Let's see if we can pull up the stats. Because Buford has had some injuries. They've been missing some running backs. I know they're banged up on that offensive line. Their left tackle was out, I believe, before the Carver Atlanta game. But then they can just plug him in. Let's see. So I don't have the updated stats, but heading into the Marietta game, he was leading them in receiving, touchdowns. That's funny. He had 7 catches. 4 of them went for touchdowns. That's how explosive he's been. And so yeah, he's the real deal. He's been a home run threat. He's made plays in the red zone. He's just an incredible football player that is going to have a bright future at the next level. We'll see how he stacks up in Buford's upcoming games. They've got a big one against Mill Creek, I think is going to be phenomenal. And last year, I don't know if we'll be able to top that. It might, but there were like 15,000 people at that game last year. It was probably the most crowded I've ever seen a high school football game. And certainly, if both teams are undefeated this year, it's going to be another fun one to watch. All right, so let's go over just the last few classifications just on the differences. All right, Calvary Day had a big win over Savannah Christian. It was a 21-21 game. They outscored them 21-0 in the second half. That's that senior leadership. And I thought it was also impressive because Calvary Day has not played in a close game yet this season. And they responded exactly how you'd want them to if you're a Calvary Day fan. Cedar Grove is still at number 1 despite the loss to Colquitt. That incredible, challenging schedule they've had. They're 2-4, but still number 1 in 3A. Let's see. Mary Persons moved up to number 6. Savannah Christian fell from 5 to 6. And then Carver Atlanta comes back into the polls after Carver Columbus exits after that loss they had this past week. All right. In 2A, Callaway fell to number 4 from number 3. I mentioned they had to vacate one of their wins, so instead of 3-1, they're 2-2. Fellowship Christian, they had a 30-24 win over Lovett. Thought that was an impressive victory. Lovett was hot coming into that matchup. CJ Givers, 33 carries, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he did his thing for sure. He's taken so many carries. And if Fellowship makes a deep run, I think he might lead the entire state in total carries this year. Obviously, the yards are off the charts too, but, I mean, he's getting 25, 30 touches every single game, which is next level. You don't see that too much. Let's see, Class A Division I, another out-of-state victory for Prince Avenue Christian. They are cruising. They apparently had 3 red zone turnovers in the first half, and it was 28-20, but then they pulled away 56-20, so a lot of unanswered points. Right there, Aaron Philo, 406 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 71 yards rushing. So senior Aaron Philo has been the leader this year. They lost a lot of pieces, but he's just been even better. Let's see. Tryon moved up to number 4. Elbert County climbed to number 6. They're 4-1. They're going to play Mount Vernon coming up. Mount Vernon had a big loss to Athens Academy. I was a little surprised about that one. Thought Mount Vernon had looked like a top 10 team, and they got smoked this last week. So Athens Academy looks like they're coming on strong at this point in the season. And then Schley County, they played number 2 ranked Macon County. They got the 34-7 victory. Schley County, the runner-ups last year, they certainly look like the favorites with Jay Kanawa at quarterback. Sorry, Kanazawa. I knew I was missing the syllable. All right. But that's it. We'll be back tomorrow. Tune in to Underrated and Overlooked. We're going to be breaking down NFL action, college football, and high school. NFL action was crazy yesterday. I don't know how is Vegas going to adapt to the possibility of teams putting up 70 points, something I've certainly never seen, but now that it's been done, I don't know. How will that affect those over-unders? We'll see. We'll talk about it all, but go to the Score Atlanta YouTube page. You can watch the full replay of Buford and Marietta. It was a very exciting game. Marietta played them tough in that first half, but ultimately Buford is able to run away with it. And then we got a big matchup this week with Lee County and Houston County. We'll be previewing that in the days ahead. But thanks so much. Hope everyone enjoys the week.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.